The first thing I noticed when I opened the door to my supposedly private vacation room was the sound of someone quietly crying inside. I froze with my suitcase still in my hand, staring at the half-open bedroom door. I had won this getaway at a charity auction in Denver, Colorado, after bidding far more than I could comfortably afford, because the money was going toward families battling serious illness. I had imagined 3 peaceful days in a beautiful mountain lodge, far away from the exhaustion of my ordinary life. Instead, there was a stranger sitting on my bed, surrounded by packed clothes, with a small overnight bag beside her. She looked up at me, frightened, as though I were the one who had entered the wrong room. Before we discover what happened behind that door, if you believe kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue telling stories about the moments when ordinary people choose to care. My name is Caleb, and for most of my life, I had been the kind of person who believed helping others was something you did when you had extra money, extra time, or extra strength. The truth was, I rarely had any of those things. I worked long hours repairing commercial heating systems around Colorado, and after my mother passed away the previous winter, my apartment had become painfully quiet. When I saw the charity auction online, I almost ignored it. But the prize was a weekend at a historic mountain lodge near Estes Park, and every dollar raised would help a local medical foundation. I entered a modest bid. Somehow, I won. The woman in my room introduced herself as Rachel. She was in her early 30s, tired-looking, with red eyes and a pair of hands that trembled slightly as she folded a sweater. She immediately apologized and explained that the lodge had made a reservation mistake. Her family had donated a week at the property to the charity, but after a last-minute scheduling change, the lodge had placed her in the same room I had been assigned. She had arrived late and, believing everything was settled, had unpacked. The front desk had already closed for the night. I was annoyed, more than annoyed, actually. I had spent months feeling as though life kept taking things away from me, and this weekend was supposed to be one small thing that belonged to me. I wanted to demand another room and let the lodge solve its own mistake. But then Rachel looked down at her hands and quietly admitted that she had come to the lodge because she had been afraid to go home. That sentence changed everything. She explained that her younger brother, Nathan, had been receiving treatment for a serious illness, and she had spent the past year organizing appointments, paperwork, meals, and bills for their family. The charity foundation had helped them during the hardest months, and Rachel had come to the lodge for one night simply to breathe. She hadn't told anyone how exhausted she was because everyone around her was already struggling. I stood there holding my suitcase, suddenly embarrassed by how important my inconvenience had seemed. I asked the front desk to find us another room, but every room was occupied. The manager offered to refund my auction payment and arrange another stay later. I looked at Rachel, then at the expensive weekend I had imagined, and realized that neither of us had come there for luxury. We had both come because we desperately needed a little peace. So I made a decision that surprised even me. I told the manager to keep my room for Rachel. I would take the small staff guest room they had offered me across the property. It wasn't fancy. It had an old wooden dresser, a narrow bed, and a window facing the parking lot. But when I returned later that evening, I found a handwritten note beneath my door. Rachel thanked me for giving her one quiet night without making her feel like a burden. The next morning, I found her sitting alone beside the lodge fireplace. She had received a phone call from Nathan. His treatment had gone well, and the doctors were hopeful. For the first time, I saw her smile without forcing it. She told me that my decision had reminded her that kindness didn't always arrive as money or grand gestures. Sometimes it was simply someone deciding that your difficult day mattered too. I thought about my mother then. She had always believed that when life hurt, the answer wasn't to become harder. It was to become gentler with other people who were hurting too. When the weekend ended, Rachel and I went our separate ways. I returned home with nothing from the auction, except a few photographs, and a strange sense that I had received something more valuable than the vacation I had won. A week later, I received an envelope from the charity foundation. Inside was a photograph of Rachel and Nathan smiling together, along with a note saying that Nathan's treatment was progressing well. But the real surprise came months later. I began volunteering with the same charity, helping repair heating systems in homes belonging to families receiving assistance. I realized that my skills, which I had always considered ordinary, could become someone else's comfort. And Rachel, she eventually became one of the foundation's volunteer coordinators. Every Christmas, she helped organize care packages for families who felt forgotten. If this story touched something inside your heart, please don't just watch and scroll away. Give it a like, share it with someone who believes people can change, and subscribe if you want more stories about compassion, hope, and unexpected second chances. Before the story ends, I want you to leave one comment. Have you ever experienced a moment when a stranger's kindness changed the way you saw the world? Your answer might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. I once thought I had won a weekend away. In the end, I discovered something far more important. Sometimes the greatest gifts don't come wrapped in beautiful rooms or expensive experiences. Sometimes they arrive as a person standing in the wrong bedroom at the right moment, giving you the chance to remember who you want to be. And sometimes, when we make room for another person's pain, we unexpectedly find a little more room for healing in our own hearts.